very nervous, so if you see us dancing a little bit, just know that it's our coping mechanism. So, people of all identities who are here, first of all, let me ask you a question. Do you remember being scared, being lonely, being vulnerable during the pandemic in a very unsafe environment? Yes. That is the reality of queer people throughout their lives. Keep it to your imaginations.
For a minute.
Throughout their lives, especially policies, especially the policy by the European Union. Yes. By the European Union, the policy on social inclusion that ensures active social inclusion of the marginalized. And by marginalized, we mean the queer community. So what do we need? What do we need? We don't need anything? We need safe spaces. And by safe spaces, a place where we can connect, learn, and grow together in South Asia and Europe. So, the team of Queer Voices of Bhutan brings you our own version of safe space called Our Diary. Do you like it? No? Anyways, if you do, I'll talk more about it. During the first stage of Our Diary, it will be a monthly newsletter. So a monthly newsletter, we'll have different columns on education, LGBTQIA+, or LGBT+, news, queer media. So people can learn from the very basic concepts of SOGISC, on SRHR, and then they'll also be aware and updated and well-informed about what is happening in South Asia and Europe as well. And queer media, do we not need representation?
Yeah.
Do we not need representation? Why look for it when we can bring it to you? And if you are a subscriber of our newsletter, don't worry, we have a separate space for you where you can provide your articles, art, and poetry. Continuing on, there are organizations, there are individuals across Europe and South Asia who do amazing work, and we would love to feature them on our newsletter. And also, to have a dynamic content, we also have a game corner where subtly we move towards different concepts of LGBT+. And we also have words of affirmation where they can play, learn, and be validated. Because what words are stronger than the words we tell ourselves, isn't it? Yes. And we also have an opportunity corner where queer individuals who will be subscribing to the newsletter will be able to know about the work and opportunities which are available. Now, as we move on to the implementation process, I will be handing the mic to my friend.
Yes. So in terms of implementation, we initially want to start by connecting with queer networks here in South Asia and Europe, use their following, their membership to be our first subscription list. And as you could see, we had a prototype already created for the first volume. We'll do further research, curate and update the content to tailor to the target audience. Once that is done, once we have a momentum of sharing this newsletter, we'd expand our approach. We do digital marketing. Since the team members here, we have experience in digital marketing as well as digital advocacy, we'd expand it to social media channels by creating social media strategies, promotions, posts, and also do influencer strategy marketing as well, where we reach out to influential people, queer champions throughout the region, and use their following to know, for more people to have access to our newsletter. That would result in more subscribers, meaning an expansive community for us. Yes, but what's next? We said our project name is Our Diary. Diary is really subjective. We want this diary to be safe, to be inclusive, and to be a place where you learn and grow, right? So in the first phase, we had the newsletter as our diary. The content from this newsletter, the subscribers' data, which includes their mailing address, the feedback will be used to then design and create more diaries or more versions of diaries. Example, online group chats. And when you say online group chats, we're trying to use popular but very common and free apps for the community members to just join in very freely, where they don't have to know new technology or jump into another software to be part of it. So where they can have, again, safe communications throughout. The next diary that we have in place is Wellbeing Sessions. We would like to organize educational workshops, networking meetups, conferences, and hangouts. And this could be both virtual and physical. As Queer Voices of Bhutan in itself, we have always been creating and organizing such advocacy programs in our country. We'd like to expand that forward. The last thing that we would like to do in our particular diary process is that we would like to use the content from the newsletters to compile them into a bigger medium, an annual magazine that could be printed or that could be shared with more queer networks, more organizations, and more people across the world. Yes, so in terms of a project, if we were to do a SWOT analysis, the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat of our project, the strength is our USP, our unique selling points. It's really simple, but it's also that practical, it's that accessible, and it's really budget friendly. Number two, weakness. When we first started the project, we did recognize that we don't really have much of connection with queer networks in Europe. But coming to FNF's hackathon here in Sri Lanka, we were able to connect with many people such as Milosh, who would be a medium for our connection where we can reach out to more queer networks. So that problem has been solved for now. And the third one, for opportunity, since our diaries aims to empower and educate queer individuals holistically, we want them to realize the potential and use that. So we believe that that would lead for them to make bigger impact in the society where they can take leadership roles by following the inspiration and examples of queer champions that we would represent in our diaries as well. Last but not the least, for the threat part, we understand that English as our primary medium might not be inclusive and might not reach out to more people. So throughout the phases, through feedbacks and recommendations, we'd love to expand that and translate our diary content in different languages as well. Yes, and this is the team. Thank you so much.
Jury members, do you?
Yes. I have actually a joint question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be sarcastic or demotivating. Okay, right. So it's not that I'm trying to demotivate or be sarcastic, but you were talking about a newsletter.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's an online one.
Yes.
Right? Is it something that currently operating?
No.
No, you're about to start one. Right. Okay. So tell me, because like I have seen newsletters online, variations, I mean different newsletters. So how this newsletter going to be a different one and an important one and interesting one other than the current existing newsletters, because it's something that common that we have seen, all organizations, maybe working platforms are using newsletters. So just explain me like how it be interesting, how much it will be interesting and important, or like yeah.
Yes. So for us, our newsletter, we want this to be a community space, right? So the way people subscribe to our newsletters would be that when they see, we want them to see our newsletter in their busy mails and be welcome to our community. So in that case, what we are trying to do is, for now, we did have a physical prototype as a newsletter, but we'd like to even have music videos as forms of creating that newsletter. So we have different dynamics like that we'd like to use. Yes.
And especially the newsletter itself is not mainly the material, it is a medium. So that medium brings together networks and connections and more discussions for people of similar interests to contact each other, to be inspired and to actually engage in more conversations.
And since this
so that is the component.
Yes. And since this is a space for the queer youths to also provide and contribute their contributions, this becomes a very interactive space for everybody. Okay.
Thank you so much for the presentation. You mentioned a couple of times that you wanted this newsletter to be a safe space, right, for queer youth. So did you think about risk management? Because you're also talking about these events and meetings. So, and in some countries, also in Asia, but also in Europe, it might be not very safe to go for these events because they can be trolled. There can be people who will be, looking after LGBTQI people after these meetings. So have you Exactly. Have you heard? Have you thought about any risk management for these
Yes.
events to be actually safe?
Yes. So we would like it to be as digital as it can be, virtual spaces, because we believe it's the most effective, simple, and safest way to reach out. So for now, that's our strategy. So if, of course, in the future, if we can have conferences, we would have to strategize further. But in practicality sense, at this stage, we know we can create and organize virtual safe spaces through using means like Zoom, Google, that would be safe, and that would include only the members of the community subscribed to the list.
And I've actually engaged in digital platforms before where people from risky environments were able to take part, and they can be as anonymous as possible in order for their identity to be safe. So we'll be able to provide a platform where they don't have to reveal themselves, but they can still engage in the discussions. So if you don't mind, can I leave a message? I think we're all forgetting what this month is.
Yeah.
What month is it? It's the month of Pride, isn't it? So the people of all identities, can we have a huge round of applause for ourselves?
Thank you. Thank you so much.